I'm just wondering about, I know you guys, I think you did spend quite a bit of time recruiting Cooper Flagg. Just what are your thoughts on him, and what maybe problems does he present to you guys?
Well, he'd present problems to anybody that plays him. I mean, he's terrific. We did recruit him. I guess made it to the final three, but he's talent, athleticism, skill. But there's another element to him that's what makes him different, is that he is so competitive and tough. I mean, and that's been obviously evident with what he's done to this point, especially in the summer, playing with the Olympic team. Yeah, he's good, and he's probably as talented a youngster that we'll have an opportunity to play against this year.
I guess how much different is it when you're preparing for an opponent and you've got the 6-day period and they're playing a game tonight, and so they'll be coming off much shorter rest than you guys?
It's not that different. We haven't started preparing for them yet, so we took Wednesday off and then practice yesterday and work on our stuff, and so we haven't really started preparing for them yet, and we'll take Saturday off. So I don't know. It happens all the time in the Big 12. Teams play on Wednesday, get 2 days less than teams that play on Monday or on a bye week. So I'm not sure it makes a huge difference.
With Flagg, where does he rank in terms of the elite kind of one-and-done talents that you've seen at the high school level?
Well, in my opinion, he's probably going into it, you thought had as big a chance to have as big an impact in his short time in college as anybody that I have ever coached or recruited. LeBron obviously didn't go to school, but I look back and was Kevin, the last guy that was a National Player of the Year. I think he ended up finishing second. Should have probably won it, but Blake Griffen obviously was, I think he came out after his sophomore year, but that he could have come out after his freshman year if health allowed, and then Mike Beasley would be the three that I think that went back to back in our league. So that's pretty good company. It still remains to be seen, what his numbers are compared to those guys, and Duke is so talented across the board that his numbers could be a little skewed because he wasn't asked to do as much or score as much as what those other guys did on their respective teams. But certainly he's in that same class of elite guys.
And then you mentioned Duke's talent there. What have you kind of seen from them, or how much have you had the chance to look at what?
Oh yeah,
Duke's
I've watched. Yeah, they're talented across the board. They're starting 3 freshmen, and everybody's going to talk about the one, but the other 2 are, potential lottery picks, if not lottery picks too. So yeah, they've got a really good roster, and then you throw, obviously the, Proctor and Foster in there. That's pretty good. I mean, that's as good as talent from a starting 5 standpoint you'll see all year long. And then they're bringing guys off the bench that were, terrific players on teams that went to the national finals last year. So I mean, yeah, they got a loaded group.
I just wonder how Flory's feeling, and if you anticipate Tuesday being available.
Yeah, I anticipate him being 100%. Yeah, I don't see anything. He had his wisdom tooth extracted day before yesterday, on Wednesday. So he may not do contact today, but he should be full go. No problems.
Bill, you've talked about players thinking instead of reacting. Is there a certain time period or frame you kind of expect guys to figure it out? And when you're recruiting these guys from high school or even transfers, is there certain traits you look at to kind of make that period lesser as the years go along?
Yeah, I'd say the general rule is for a high school kid, I think it happens sooner rather than later. for a transfer, I think, at least in my experiences, it's probably taken a little bit longer. And you know, we have three that are playing significant minutes right now in Zeke and obviously Rylan and AJ. And I would say of those three, Zeke's to me seems to be more comfortable early, and the other two are gaining on it. But the general rule for me is, you know, first semester.
Yeah. And why do you think Zeke has kind of found that rhythm a little bit quicker than these other guys?
The rhythm as far as being comfortable. I would say maybe style of play at the prior place, but you know, I don't know exactly. Maybe had a little bit more success. You know, Zeke didn't look comfortable at all when we scrimmaged Arkansas, so you know, the light's just coming on. But guys, I mean, you can't read into that too much. It takes different guys, different amounts. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Embiid started here till Christmas or right before Christmas. I don't think Mario started here until a certain time. We've had some guys that maybe took. When I'm talking about longer, we're talking about weeks. We're not talking about years or months. So I see everybody being on schedule.
Coach, with the length and size that Duke has across the board, what challenges does that provide on both ends of the floor for you guys?
Well, you got to rebound the ball, without question. You know, they've got four guys that, you know, are obviously shooting the three really well and do shoot a lot of them. So, you know, you got to guard the arc. You got to be able to. We switch a lot, so you got to, you know, not allow them to play to mismatches, and guards have to rebound the ball, which we haven't done consistently well, with the exception of Zeke. So they present challenges, but I will say this, you know, I actually think that North Carolina and Michigan State presented challenges too. So, you know, we just got to adjust to what they want to do, but what they do very, very well.
And then with Cooper Flagg, you've obviously seen a lot of great players. Who does he remind you of, or is he just sort of a one of a kind?
I'm not going to tell you what I told him recruiting, because obviously it wasn't good enough. Didn't work. But I think he reminds me of, you know, of probably a and you know, I don't want to say, but I think he can probably do as many things at his size, from an athlete standpoint, from a slide standpoint, from a vision, from a scoring, from explosiveness off one, off two. He can probably do things well-rounded, and from a competitive standpoint is what you see guys that are playing 82 games consistently do. He's not the only one they got. You know, that's the questions you guys ask, but he's obviously different than most, you know, 17 or 18-year-old kids right now.
This is the first time in a while you guys are going into Thanksgiving and you're not in a situation where you're going to be playing like 3 games in 3 days. And you've talked a little bit about this from like the financial perspective, but what are the pros and cons of having, it's technically not a one-off because you have the game back here, but a one-off as opposed to one of these longer multi-team events?
I actually think on those long events is when you can actually have a chance to become a team. You know, I would say watching that game last night, which you guys probably watched also, that would have been a heartbreaker one to lose, but those are the time games that actually give you momentum for the next month. And that was a great win. But these games, to me, I don't study it hard enough to know the advantages of a one-off, so to speak, as opposed to, you know, so we played Ball State and Florida in Vegas. It's the exact same thing we're doing with Duke. It's just there's not a Ball State. The Ball State game happens back home. So I don't really look at it probably the way that you guys do it. Atlantis and Maui are different. 3 games in 3 days. Where are you out? How do you rest guys certain games? This will be a game that I'm sure that both teams play to win, regardless of the bench situation, that kind of stuff.
Bill, I guess, do you dip into last season at all when you're scouting Duke at this point, or is 5 games in a season enough to sort of look at and have a book on them?
I would say in this situation, the only thing I would dip into in the past would probably be how we guarded them and how they guarded us 2 years ago when we played each other. But as far as last year, they're not the same team. So I personally haven't spent any time studying tape from the NCAA tournament last year on them, or from the ACC tournament. We spent all our time watching, what do they play, 4 games plus Arizona State? So I guess 6 games counting the other exhibition, but we spent all our time on those games.
Bill, bringing in the shooters and a rim protector, how's that impacted Hunt and Juan and KJ, other than giving him some more rest?
Well, I think with both of them, they both need space, and the better shooting you have gives them both space, which is good. I think they would both agree with that, even though I don't think we shot it very well yet. I think potentially we can, but I don't think we shot it great yet. But last year we probably had guys sitting in Hunt's lap more so than what we would have liked. And with Rylan and Zeke and Diggy and AJ, when those guys are in there, that certainly gives you a chance to spread the floor a little more.
Anything else? Gary.
Would you like to coach a game in Durham at Cameron someday? And do you think you ever will?
That's actually a good question. Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to go home and home with Duke like we're doing Carolina. I think that'd be great. Obviously we're going to play them this year, and then next year I think we play Kentucky, and the year after we play Duke. So it'd have to work out, around the Champions Classic, so to speak. But yeah, I think it'd be great. And to answer your question, yes, that I haven't been there, so I've driven by it. We tried to get one of their guys to transfer to us one time, so I actually drove by it, but I've never been in it. So I think that would be a pretty cool. That would be obviously a bucket list things for all coaches to do, just like it would be a bucket list thing for them to come here as well.
What was it like to coach against K? Do you have fond memories of those games?
Yeah, I probably do about 40% of them. So the other 60% probably not so much, but about 40% I probably have some fond memories.
Is he the greatest of all time?
I can't speak to all time because I wasn't around, obviously, when Coach Wooden was doing it, but there's no question he's the standard of modern our generation basketball.
Following up on that a little bit, you obviously had familiarity with him, and I wonder what you just make of what Shire's done, following him, and we probably asked you about it 2 years ago when you played him, but he's also had a couple years.
Yeah, but I didn't get a
since
chance to coach that game. Yeah, so that was like John's second game, and I didn't get a chance to coach it. So Norm did. So this will be my first time and John going against each other, but he's done a great job. And let's just call it like it is. Duke has been really, really good for a long, long time, in large part because of Coach, but also because of the culture they had built over time, recruited other great players. And I don't think they may have taken a step sideways. And I'm sure there's some different philosophical approaches because I'm not in on the know on that stuff. But what John has done in a short amount of time is very impressive. And what they're doing recruiting is probably even more impressive. And of course, they have a team this year that would be considered one of the favorites to go all the way. So yeah, he's done a great job, and certainly probably not in the easiest of situations to do a great job. So that makes it even more impressive.
Coach, so you've been here a while now. How have you seen from your perspective, how have you seen the women's program here grow and turn into what it is today?
Well, I was here with Marion, and then with Bonnie for a decade, and now with Brandon for close to a decade. I don't know what it is, 8 or 10. I think that they have done well. I think we've had our ups and downs years. I think when we've been good, we've been really good. And but I do think with Brandon, what he has been able to accomplish in the time he's been here is probably at a point now where he has a chance and they have a chance to benefit from those efforts more today than they have yet, in large part because of the success they've had in recent memory. And then you go out and you recruit the way they're recruiting right now, you can't help but get better. So they've done a really good job, he and his staff.
Rylan, I just wonder, growing up or even in high school, if you watched games like Duke and Kansas, and now that you I know you played some in Alabama, but these are two blue blood programs going after each other. What you're looking forward to in this game?
I didn't really watch college basketball really until I started getting recruited by certain schools, and then I just started watching only their games. So I never really saw a big time Duke and Kansas matchup, even though I heard about them all in the Champions Classic, and I actually watched that tournament game in the I don't know what round it was, but it was with Marvin Bagley and them. So that was a great game to watch. So that's what I'm hoping for in this game too.
Rylan, Bill's talked about reacting instead of overthinking and stuff like that. Have you felt like you've kind of gotten a little better at just playing the way you normally play, and there's an adjustment period to playing for Kansas versus playing for Alabama?
Yeah, it's a different, two different systems, but they look for the same stuff. Really, it's just we get it in different ways here than we did at Alabama. So, I can get better at reacting instead of thinking. But I think I'm getting better. Just got to keep on practicing and keep on playing in games, and then I'll be really way comfortable. Even at Alabama last year, it was the same type of stuff. I didn't start off that great, just still learning my teammates, learning what the coach wants and all that. And then later on in the year is when I became at my best. So that's what I think gonna happen this year too, even though I can get better right now, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, is that something you kind of expected to be a little bit of an adjustment period, and is there anything you can do, you think, to mitigate that at all?
Yeah, I feel of course it was gonna be an adjustment period. It's a new team, new players. I've never played with a big man like Hunter. We didn't really throw the ball into the post at Alabama. We were really, really guard. We played 4 guards. I was the 4-man for them. So that's definitely an adjustment, and I think it'll be better starting. It's getting better now, but every game will be better than me, I think.
DeJuan was in here the other day and referred to those last 2 games as kind of get better games. How do you feel like you and the team got better from them, and what are the main things you want to focus on heading into Duke?
I feel like we definitely got better with our ball screen defense. That's something that we have to keep going up when it comes to Duke, because they're so good and so tall and athletic and stuff. And so we're gonna have to make sure we don't foul. I feel like we could get better at not fouling as much and putting people on the line and giving them free points. But we're gonna get better at that too. So I feel like we just been getting. They were definitely tune-up games, and we got better in both games.
You mentioned Duke there. Have you had the chance to look much at what they're doing this season?
I watched a little bit of that Kentucky game right after ours, but not too much. And then tonight I'm gonna watch them because they playing against one of my old teammates, Jaden Bradley. So I haven't really watched them, but I talked to him a little bit. He told me a little bit about them, but I'm gonna watch tonight and see what they're really about. I'm gonna watch how they guard, watch how they play, and watch what they like to get in their offense, and watch how they like to play defense, and see who their main guys are.
What changes for you on defense and as a team when you have a big like Hunter rather than a big like you had at Alabama last year?
Not much really. We really kind of guard the same. Like Hunter's a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, so you can make a little mistake or whatever, and he'll cover it for you. He remind me more of Charles Bediako. He like just tall, long, and they can block shots, protect the rim pretty well. Our big at Alabama last year was really good at blitzing and making sure the guards got the ball out their hands really fast. So 2 different styles, but I like both, and I feel like I can play in both.
Rylan, you mentioned you haven't watched a whole lot of Duke yet, but Cooper Flagg's getting a lot of attention nationally. Do you know much about him as a player? Have you followed sort of his rise through the ranks much at all?
Yeah, for sure. He's a great player. Tall, can do pretty much everything on the court, and he defends. He plays both ends of the court. He competes. That's really one of the main reasons why he's as good as he is. He just competes every possession on the floor, and he's going to be a big challenge for us, and he's going to be a guy that I know we're going to have to slow down because he's, if not the main guy, he's one of the main guys on the team. So, and they're a really talented team. He's probably the most talented player. So, he's going to be a big challenge, and we're going to have to do what we can to slow him down and stop him.
Rylan, I wonder, do you have a feel yet for where this team is most comfortable, whether it's transition, running actions, on defense? Do you have a feel yet for where that is or where it might be soon?
I feel like transition, that's what I feel like we look better in transition right now because we just advancing the ball and getting easy layups, easy lobs, easy threes. It's easier to go against the unset defense too, so I feel like that's when we're at our best, and I feel like we could play in transition even more, but I feel like right now our best is in transition, and we'll be better at everything else as the season goes on for sure.